Have you ever felt like nothing important was happening in your life? Like you were just waiting around, hidden, maybe overlooked, stuck in an ordinary season? Esther chapter 2 reminds us of something very powerful. What feels like waiting may actually be positioning. Because while people in the story thought that they were making ordinary, everyday choices, God was arranging some extraordinary purpose. Today, we're going to walk through Esther chapter 2. And this chapter proves that God often works quietly before he works visibly. He's in the behind the scenes before we see it. Between Esther chapter 1 and Esther chapter 2, there is history happening, things that we don't see. King Xerxes has invaded Greece. He left Persia powerful and confident. He returned defeated and humbled. That matters because when chapter 2 opens, this is not the same triumphant king from chapter 1. He has lost momentum. He has no queen, and he is now searching for something to restore stability and image. Everything he knew is now gone. In Esther 2 1 to 4, after these things had happened, after this battle, the king remembers Vashti and what had happened. His attendants suggest gathering beautiful young women from across the empire. They would be brought into the royal harem, and the king would choose a queen from among them. What looks like palace politics is actually the beginning of divine positioning. The king thinks he is choosing a queen, but God has something else going on. He's placing a deliverer. Sometimes people think they are in control of the story, while God is behind the scenes writing something bigger underneath it, maybe a completely different story. In Esther 2 5 to 7, we are introduced to Mordecai, a Jewish man living in Susa. He had raised his cousin Esther as his own daughter after her parents died. Esther was beautiful in appearance, but more importantly, she was about to be used by God in a major way. Esther enters the story as an orphan in exile. No one knew her. She had no throne, no influence, no visible power. Yet heaven saw purpose before earth saw position. Never assume that humble beginnings cancel out divine calling. God often starts with hidden people in hidden places. What he's doing is not always seen, it's not always obvious. In Esther 2 8 to 11, Esther is taken with the other women into the king's house. She finds favor with the keeper of the women. He gives her special care, special food, and extra preparation. Mordecai stays near the court daily so he can learn how Esther is doing and how it's going. This matters. Notice the repeated theme. Esther finds favor. Throughout the passage, she found favor with people, favor in the process, favor in the timing. This is one of the ways that God moves quietly. It's not always through a fancy, showy miracle or a big healing. Sometimes it's through simple favor. And Mordecai staying nearby, that shows love, protection, and wisdom. He remains watchful in a season where Esther cannot control much of what's going on. Esther 2 12 to 18 tells us that after each woman's time of preparation, she would go before the king. This was her chance. When Esther's turn came, she asked for nothing extra beyond what had been advised. The king loved Esther more than all the others. She had found favor. He placed the royal crown on her head and he made her queen. Then he held a great feast in her honor. Esther's rise was not random. Yes, she was beautiful to look at, But beauty alone does not explain repeated favor and divine timing. God was placing the right person in the right place before the crisis ever arrived. Think about that. And some of us needed to hear this. God may be positioning you right now for battles you don't see yet. What makes no sense now will later. The season you call ordinary may be strategic. In Esther 2:19-20, even after becoming queen, Esther continued to follow Mordecai's counsel. She trusted her father figure. She had not revealed her Jewish identity yet. Position had changed. She was now the queen, but her character had not. She became queen, but remained teachable. That matters. Success without humility destroys many people. Esther rose in influence without losing wisdom, without losing her true identity. In Esther 2:21-23, while sitting at the king's gate, Mordecai overheard two officials plotting to kill the king. He told Esther, and Esther informed the king and named Mordecai as the source. The matter was investigated, found to be true, and the men were executed by hanging. The event was recorded in the Royal Chronicles. So this was an important event. This part feels small when you first read it, but it is one of the most important moments in the entire book. Mordecai does the right thing. It is written down. It is recorded. Then nothing seems to happen. There's no reward. There's no applause. There's no promotion. He just goes on with life. But later, this forgotten act becomes a turning point. Somebody needs this today. Delayed recognition does not mean wasted obedience. God sees what people overlook. Romans 8:28. And we know that for all those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Esther 2 teaches us that God is working even in hidden seasons. When you feel overlooked, when progress feels slow, when nothing dramatic seems to be happening, God may be positioning, he may be developing character, he may be opening future doors you don't see. He may be recording faithfulness that no one else notices. What feels like waiting may be preparation. Maybe you're in an Esther chapter 2 season. Maybe you're waiting, quiet, hidden, unclear. Take heart, my friend. God often works quietly before he works publicly. If this has encouraged you, please subscribe and continue this Esther journey with me. Chapter by chapter, we're going to see how God uses her, because what feels like waiting may actually be positioning for you and for me.